Thor's hidden secret. The Avengers had always stood united, a force for good in a world teetering on the edge of chaos. They had faced aliens, monsters, and gods, but nothing had prepared them for the secret that Thor, the god of thunder, had been hiding. A secret so powerful, it threatened not just the team, but the entire world. It was a typical day in the Avengers Tower. The team had gathered in the common room, relaxing after their latest victory. The world was safe again. The city below was buzzing with life, oblivious to the battles fought above. But amidst the calm, Thor stood apart, his thoughts clearly miles away. His gaze was distant, his hands tightly clutching something invisible to the rest of the team. It wasn't until Iron Man spoke up that the uneasy tension was finally broken. "Thor, you've been acting off for days now," Tony Stark said, his voice laced with the usual sarcasm, but with an undertone of concern. "What's going on? You've been quiet, and you're always looking at your hammer like you've just gotten back from a long road trip." Thor didn't respond immediately. He shifted uncomfortably, glancing toward the window as though the sky could offer him answers. The sunlight streamed through the glass, casting a warm glow on the room, but it did nothing to alleviate the storm that brewed inside him. Finally, he exhaled deeply, as if gathering the courage to speak. "It's not the hammer," Thor muttered, his voice low. "It's something far older, something I've kept hidden for far too long." Captain America, who had been watching Thor intently, stepped forward. "What are you talking about? What's hidden?" Thor hesitated, his hand reaching beneath his cloak, pulling out an ancient, weathered book. The pages were yellowed with age, and intricate runes shimmered faintly on its cover. The moment the book was revealed, a thick silence fell over the room. The air seemed to hum with an energy no one could explain. It was unlike anything the Avengers had encountered before. This is the source of my torment," Thor continued, his eyes flickering with a mixture of fear and guilt. "It's an artifact of unimaginable power, one that was sealed away long before I was born. It's called the Book of Ymir, and it holds the ancient knowledge of the old gods." Iron Man narrowed his eyes, his mind already racing with questions. "The Book of Ymir? You're telling me this ancient book has been hidden away all this time, and you've kept it from us?" Thor nodded, his hands tightening around the book. "I had no choice. It holds the power to control the very fabric of reality itself. And He trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. The weight of his confession hung in the air like a dark cloud. "What happened?" Black Widow asked, her voice sharp with concern. "Why didn't you tell us about this sooner?" "I never wanted to," Thor admitted, his voice breaking. "But the book, it calls to me. It has for years. I thought I could resist its power, but the longer I kept it hidden, the stronger its influence grew." The Avengers exchanged uneasy glances. They had faced many threats, but this was different. Thor had always been their pillar of strength, the one they could rely on. To hear him speak of something so powerful, something so dangerous, shook them all to their core. "We need to destroy it," Captain America said, his voice steady but firm. "This thing is too dangerous. If it has the power to control reality, we can't allow it to fall into the wrong hands." Thor's face darkened at the suggestion. "It's not that simple, Steve," he said softly. "The book can't be destroyed. It's woven into the very essence of the cosmos. If we try to destroy it, we risk unraveling everything." Iron Man crossed his arms. "Great, so now we're stuck with it. What do we do then? Keep it locked in a vault somewhere?" "That's what I've been doing for years," Thor replied, his voice heavy with regret. "But I'm afraid I can't keep it hidden forever. The power it contains, it's too strong, and it wants to be freed." As the weight of Thor's words settled over the team, a creeping sense of dread began to take hold. What had seemed like a typical day for the Avengers was rapidly spiraling into something much more sinister. The book was no mere artifact. It was a force of destruction, a temptation too powerful to ignore. "Why didn't you tell us about this before?" Black Widow asked, her voice low but filled with anger. "We're a team, Thor. We could have helped." Thor looked at her, guilt and shame evident on his face. "I wanted to protect you. I thought I could handle it on my own. But now it's too late." At that moment, a sudden explosion shook the tower, sending everyone into immediate action. The ground trembled, and the building's alarms blared, signaling an incoming attack. What the hell was that? Iron Man asked, quickly scanning the outside of the building. It's not an attack, Thor said, his voice filled with dread. It's the book. Its power is growing. It's calling to something I cannot control. Before anyone could react, the room was bathed in a brilliant flash of light. Thor's eyes glowed, and the book began to pulse with energy. The Avengers backed away, realizing too late that they were no longer in control of the situation. Something was awakening inside the book, and whatever it was not going to be stopped. Hulk's wrath. The Avengers Tower trembled as the explosion rocked the building, rattling the windows and sending debris cascading down the hallways. The once quiet evening had turned into a battlefield. The team rushed into action, each member ready to face whatever new threat was making its move. But nothing could have prepared them for what came next. In the chaos, one member of the team stood still, his fists clenched, his breathing erratic. Hulk, usually a force of nature that was hard to control, but still a member of the Avengers, was now caught in the grip of something far worse than any enemy they had ever faced. What the hell was that? Iron Man's voice crackled through the comms, his helmet reflecting the urgency in his tone. Thor's face was pale, his eyes wide with fear. He looked toward the horizon, sensing something was coming. It's the book. It's calling to something inside of him. Hulk was standing at the edge of the tower's open-air balcony, his eyes glowing green as his muscles bulged. The air around him seemed to crackle with raw power. He had heard Thor's words, but they barely registered. All that mattered now was the intense anger boiling inside him, amplified by the power Thor had inadvertently unleashed. Hulk smash! The words roared from his throat, filling the entire building with their force. His voice trembled with fury, a fury that seemed beyond his control. Bruce, don't do this. Black Widow shouted as she approached him cautiously, trying to reach the man she had known, the man who was more than just a monster. You have to stop. But Hulk's mind was clouded by rage, and he couldn't hear her. His green skin was now a deep, dark shade, his veins bulging and pulsating with the intensity of his fury. The book Thor had brought out, the one that had called to Thor in ways he could never understand, was now calling to Hulk as well, amplifying his anger to an unimaginable level. The Avengers could feel it. The energy in the air had changed. The power that Hulk was radiating was more than they had ever seen from him before. He wasn't just angry. He was something else entirely, something that no one had prepared for. This is bad, Captain America muttered under his breath. He signaled to Iron Man and Black Widow. We need to stop him before it gets out of hand. We can't afford to lose him to this. Thor stepped forward, his hand raised, as if to stop his teammates from intervening. No, I know what this is. It's the book. It's feeding on his anger. It's driving him mad. He won't stop until we stop it. Iron Man's voice was grim. So what are we supposed to do? We can't just stand here and wait for him to destroy everything. Thor's gaze softened as he watched Hulk's growing rage, but his voice was full of determination. We have to reach him. We have to get through to Bruce. He's still in there. But if we can't, we'll have to stop him. Suddenly, Hulk's massive form lunged forward, his fist smashing into the floor of the tower, sending shockwaves through the structure. The Avengers braced for impact as the walls cracked under the force of his blows. Hulk smash, he bellowed again, his eyes glowing with an unnatural, almost malevolent energy. Iron Man immediately activated his repulsor blasts, firing at Hulk to divert his attention. The beams hit Hulk square in the chest, but they barely seemed to faze him. With an earth-shattering roar, Hulk swiped a massive hand, sending Iron Man crashing against the wall. Black Widow darted to the side, looking for a way to help, but she knew this wasn't going to be like their usual fights. This wasn't just a battle of strength, it was a battle of wills. Hulk was no longer just the misunderstood hero they'd come to rely on. He was something far more dangerous now. Captain America stood firm, raising his shield, preparing for the inevitable clash. We can't let him destroy the city. We need to slow him down. Before anyone could react, Hulk leaped forward, crashing through the tower's outer wall and onto the street below, sending debris and dust into the air. The team followed, watching in horror as Hulk rampaged through the city, tearing through buildings, crushing cars underfoot, and sending civilians fleeing in terror. Thor, his eyes filled with sorrow, followed closely behind. He could feel the pull of the book growing stronger, like a chain that was dragging him into the abyss. The same power that had corrupted him was now corrupting Hulk, and there was little time left to save him. "Bruce, you have to fight it," Thor cried, his voice reaching Hulk's ears. But Hulk was too far gone, his mind consumed by the book's influence. His massive hand swiped at Thor, knocking him aside with a brutal force. "I am Hulk. I am the strongest there is." The Avengers rallied together, trying to stop Hulk's rampage, but every attack seemed useless. It wasn't just the Hulk they were facing. It was the power of the book, an ancient force that had awakened something primal and uncontrollable inside him. Thor, struggling to stand, looked up at the destruction unfolding before him. He had created this monster, and now he had to find a way to stop it. "Hulk, Bruce, I am sorry," Thor whispered, as his mind raced for a solution. But as the battle raged on, one thing was certain. Hulk's wrath, amplified by the ancient power of the book, would not be so easily stopped. The Avengers had their work cut out for them, and with each passing moment, the threat grew more dangerous. The fate of their friend, and perhaps the world, hung in the balance. Superman and Batman's choice. The city was in ruins. The once glimmering skyline was now a crumbling backdrop to the chaos below. Hulk's fury had torn through the streets, and the Avengers, powerless to stop him, had done everything in their power to contain the destruction. But nothing had worked. The power that had consumed their friend, the dark energy from the ancient book Thor had once kept hidden, had taken hold of him, and it was far stronger than anything they had faced before. In the midst of this turmoil, Superman and Batman arrived. Their shadows stretched across the city as they flew in, the wind rushing in their wake. Both heroes had watched the situation unfold from afar, but now, their time had come. The question was no longer if they would intervene, but how. Superman's blue and red suit gleamed in the sunlight, his cape billowing behind him. His piercing gaze swept over the destruction below, taking in the sight of Hulk's rampage. "We have to stop him, Bruce," Superman said, his voice heavy with the weight of the decision before him. "If we don't, this city, it won't survive." Batman hovered just beside him, his dark form stark against the bright daylight. His expression was grim, his jaw set in a firm line. "We can't just charge in. Hulk's not the enemy here. This isn't just about brute strength. The book's influence on him. We need to figure out how to reach him before he's beyond saving." Superman's eyes narrowed as he surveyed the destruction. "He's already beyond saving, Bruce. You saw what happened to Thor. This book, it's corrupting him, just like it did with Thor. We need to take him down before he does more damage." But Batman shook his head, his voice low and determined. "We don't take down our own. If we do that, we're no better than the villains we fight. We need to save Bruce, stop the influence of the book, not destroy the man we once called an ally." A heavy silence fell between them, the tension palpable. Superman and Batman, two of the world's greatest heroes, stood side by side, yet the divide between them had never been so clear. Superman, the symbol of hope, wanted to act swiftly, to put an end to the destruction before it spiraled out of control. Batman, ever the strategist, believed in saving their friend, no matter the cost. "Bruce, you're right," Superman said finally, his tone softer. "But what if there's no saving him? What if this book has already taken him too far?" "We won't know unless we try," Batman replied, his voice unwavering. "You know as well as I do, Clark, we can't give up on him. Not without trying everything first." Superman clenched his fists, the conflict raging inside him. He had faced impossible choices before, but this was different. This was one of their own. "I don't know if I can fight him without hurting him. The power he has, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. It's too dangerous." Batman's eyes flashed with understanding, but his resolve remained firm. "I know, but we need to try. If we fight him now, we lose everything, our friend, our family, and everything we stand for." This is about more than just stopping Hulk. It's about saving what's left of the Avengers. Superman nodded slowly, his expression hardening. Then we do this together. With a final glance at Batman, Superman took to the skies, his powerful form cutting through the air toward Hulk's path of destruction. Batman followed close behind, his mind already racing with plans, strategies, and contingencies. There was no time to waste. They needed to reach Bruce before it was too late. Hulk's rampage had reached the heart of the city, the destruction unimaginable. Buildings lay in ruins, the streets littered with debris. People were running in terror, desperately trying to escape the monster who had once been their protector. Hulk's massive form towered over the city, his eyes glowing with an intense, almost unearthly light. His roar shook the earth beneath him as he smashed another building to pieces. "Bruce," Superman called, his voice ringing out across the battlefield. "Listen to me. This isn't you. The book, it's controlling you." Hulk's head snapped toward Superman, and for a moment there was a flicker of recognition in his eyes. But then it vanished, replaced by an uncontrollable rage. "Hulk smash!" he bellowed, charging at Superman with the force of a freight train. Superman barely had time to react. He soared into the air, narrowly avoiding Hulk's outstretched hand. "Bruce, please." Superman pleaded again. "We can save you. Just listen to me." But Hulk's mind was clouded. The book's power was too much, too strong. And even Superman's voice, full of hope, couldn't reach him in time. Batman landed between them, his stance steady, his gaze focused. "Bruce," he said quietly, his voice calm but commanding. "You're not alone. We're still here for you." For a brief moment, the rage in Hulk's eyes faltered. There was something in Batman's voice, something familiar, that made Hulk hesitate. But the power of the book surged once more, and Hulk lunged forward, his massive fists slamming into the ground. The shockwave sent both Superman and Batman flying backward. "You can't save me," Hulk growled, his voice hoarse. "The book controls me now." The moment had come. Superman and Batman exchanged a glance, knowing that their friend, their ally, was slipping away from them. There was no turning back now. The choice had been made, and no matter what happened next, it would change everything.